Do you like going to the bakery, stroll around as you browse upon the rows and rows of baked goods? I do. I love the feeling of looking around and choosing bread. But there's one thing I've been so curious about these days. Evening when I go to my local bakery and I saw these rows upon rows of bread still left being unsold and untouched despite it being almost closing time. So I wondered, what's going to happen to those bread that are still unsold by closing time? In fact, the sad truth is, those perfectly good breads will most likely end up being thrown away daily. This does not only happen to bread, but also fresh produce from any retailer such as your market, your local supermarket as well. Why is such otherwise edible food being thrown away in such a wasteful manner? According to a project called Drawdown, a leading nonprofit organization in climate solution, an estimated 1/3 of our food is wasted and never eaten, and those often land up in landfills. This means that not only are the resources and greenhouse gases needed to produce those food is unnecessary, instead more pollution is generated as those food are decomposed and methane is produced. We have to look at the food production cycle as a whole, but for ease of understanding, let's take a look at only two parts, which is before it is sold, the manufacturing process, as well as the consumption stage after it is sold. The cycle started from the very beginning when the produce is being harvested. To many farmers and harvesters, if a sign of imperfection such as insect bites or discoloration occurs on a piece of vegetable, for example, they are not harvested and thrown away immediately. After all, only the better looking produce sells better, right? So why bother to use imperfections produce? It is this sense of protection that propels food waste in many farms. Next is the point of sale stage. Grocery stores and supermarkets tend to overbuy produce, like fruits, to have enough produce to stack their shelves mountain high. After all, the public believes that it will sell better if there were more produce. No one really wants to buy that only banana left on the shelves, right? To store managers, there is a saying that pile it high and watch it fly. The sad truth in our shopping culture. Then comes the consumption stage. We often find ourselves buying things more than we really need. The same goes for food. After all, we cannot resist that 30% or 50% promotion of bulk buying that dozen of strawberry boxes that we might never finish by the weekend, right? That the plate is getting bigger and bigger is not helping this food waste chain at all. More often than not, personally, I hardly ever can finish that double king-size burger on my own. Another puzzling thing that is not helping is the confusing expiration labels on those produce. There are most often ones that I've noticed is one that says sell by date, another says best before, or another produce label that says drink before. What do they really mean? And then some of them really confuse me, so I often end up throwing perfectly good food that I are being able to eat just before it's past, let's say, best before date. I believe many are just as bewildered as I am. In fact, there's no standard or regulation passed by the government regarding this expiration label at all. What is being posted is entirely up to the manufacturers, and they care even less as long as their produce sells, right? It is very often believed that we will have to double our food production by 2050 in order to feed the total rising global population. But is this really the case? According to a book titled Feeding the World by Smil, if the food waste problem is corrected, we will be able to feed 30% more of the world population than we already do. So let us think about what we as individuals can do to put a stop to food waste and make the world a better place.